Well, good afternoon. I am thrilled to be here because I come from this sector. I worked for several years in Fasecolda. I come from the industry, and now I am working for the Bank of Opportunities. And here I am, first to tell you that I have faced a problem for many years, and that is that I have to tell you what I do in my work. When I was working for Fasecolda, everybody asked me what Fasecolda was, and I had to explain. And now I work in the Bank of Opportunities, and the first thing I have to say is that the Bank of Opportunities uh, the Bank of Opportunities is not a bank. The Bank of Opportunities is the government program which coordinates the policy of financial inclusion in Colombia. Coordinating the financial inclusion policy has to do with banks, of course, has to do with financial cooperatives, has to do with microfinancial NGOs, and also has to do with insurance and pension funds. And in the area of insurance and pension funds, particularly in an environment in which the insurance sector is a big challenge, it has been a big challenge. We all know here that the penetration of insurance in Colombia is very low, 2.88%. According to the Swiss report for 1917, far below the world standards, which is 6.13%, and below Latin America, or at least below several countries in Latin America. So, considering these figures, Colombia continues to be an opportunity, and it's an opportunity because we move from having an indicator of monetary poverty of 40% down to 27% in the last measurement. So this has been a quantum leap that people don't realize, and we have also taken big leaps in terms of bank participation. In 2006, Colombia had an indicator of 50% of Colombians with bank accounts. As of the third quarter of last year, our indicator of financial inclusion is 81.3%. And with this government program, the Bank of Opportunities, it was created within a framework in which well, maybe we don't know about it, but 30% of the municipalities of the country did not have access to services of the financial service in 2006. I am not speaking about the 19th century or the beginning of the 20th century. In 2006, 3 of every 10 municipalities in Colombia didn't have a bank office or a bank correspondent. Now, 100% of the municipalities in the country have at least one bank branch. This has been a quantum leap. However, there are challenges. Not just the challenge of the 3.6 million people that are not part of the financial system, but also the challenge of using the products of the financial system. Despite the fact that 81% of Colombians have access to financial services, only 67% uses those products. And not only 67% uses effectively the products, but if we look at data in the rural areas and by age, in terms of the rural areas, while in the cities, the indicator of financial inclusion is 87%, in the rural areas it's 61%. If we look at young people between 18 and 25, those young people of which we have talked about in this conference, saying that they use, or we use, because I'm still a millennial, we use cell apps. I would like to be a centennial, but I am not. We use cell apps. Those young people that use apps, only 57% of them have access to the system of the financial system. So we have a big gap of access. And these access gaps are mainly and I cannot speak about insurance indicators, though I know the sector very well, but these are banking data in the area of savings and credit in the Colombian financial system. To work towards more access to products of savings, credit, insurance, and pensions, I want to discuss 3 lines in which Bank of Opportunities is working on. This is a meeting in which we have mainly discussed innovation and development of products in order to reach consumers, the financial consumers, and particularly insurance consumers. At this point, we are working on 3 lines. The first one, on information. We have talked to people in the insurance sector, in the banking sector, financial cooperatives, and microfinancial companies, and they have unanimously agreed that there is an information problem. We don't know how many micro businesses we have in Colombia. We don't know what is happening with the informal sector or the micro businesses in the country. Along those lines, we just created or signed an agreement with Confecámaras, which is the grouping of chambers of commerce of the country, to get the information. Just as Fasecolda measures the formal labor sector in labor risks, we want to have information of the level of the financial position of the formal companies in Colombia. We will be participating in DANE Microbusiness Round to have information about what is going on with companies in the country. Probably some of you have read the microbusiness survey of ANIF, and maybe some of you have some criticisms about the results of that survey of the small and medium companies of ANIF. So we will go over that with Dane to have a larger sample to know what is happening at the microbusiness level. And we are in the process of creating an observatory for financial inclusion in the rural areas of the country. Colombia, a country that had a poverty indicator of 50 and went down to 27%, is still facing important problems in the rural areas. The informality of the country. The labor informality in the country is 62%. In the rural areas, that indicator is 87%, and that's why we have to prioritize our actions in that area. The second challenge, the first one is information, as I already said. And the reason for being here and exchanging with the insurance sector is to listen to ideas about what we can do in order to build better sources of information. The second challenge we have is innovation. Digital innovation in particular. We know that 74% of Colombians, due to the last survey of Bank of Opportunities, we have intelligent mobile phones. Only 14% of the people that have intelligent mobile phones use the intelligent mobile phone to do financial transactions. In other words, we have a problem of trust. And we have a problem of trust, and we have to work on that in order to reach more people. Number 3. And I am looking at my watch, and that gives me stress. Number 3, financial education. We have talked about financial education and behavioral economics, particularly during the panels yesterday. In terms of financial education, we are building methodologies for rural financial education and vulnerable populations and small and medium companies. We are going to develop methodologies that include components of behavioral economics, as we discussed yesterday, and that also include a process of impact assessment to know which components of the behavioral economics can be useful, not just to expand our knowledge, but also to change attitudes so that we make better financial decisions, particularly in this sector, financial decisions related to insurance and better risk protection. Bank of Opportunities, the program of financial inclusion, has worked with Fasecolda and will continue to do so in the next few years in order to reach a larger part of our population. And Bank of Opportunities is also in the process of reinventing itself. When it was originally created, 3 of every 10 of our municipalities did not have access to financial services. Colombia had 0 banking correspondents. I don't know whether you know this. And Bank of Opportunities co-financed the creation of the first bank correspondence. We co-financed 209 banking correspondents. We brought a methodology, and additionally, we helped to implement the regulation. Most of this process of creation of Bank of Opportunities had the participation of the Ministry of Commerce, Industry, and Trade, Dr. Juan Humberto Butero, and we owe him most of what Bank of Opportunities is nowadays. In 2006, we had no banking correspondents. Now the country has more than 135,000. This mechanism or this growth has been possible because in some cases the financial inclusion program of the government has been attractive where the market needs to start working. So shoulder to shoulder, we would like to work together and find the best mechanisms to motivate a growth of the insurance sector, and those mechanisms should be aligned in the area of information, innovation, and financial education. I want to thank you, Alejandra Diaz Agudelo, who worked in Fasecolda until last April 30, and she was very concerned about the development of financial inclusion. And I also want to thank Dr. Botero, Carlos Varela, and the Fasecolda and Bank of Opportunities team for this opportunity and the opportunity to continue building a better country. Thank you very much.
Bueno, unas muy...
Well, very briefly, I want to start from where Dr. Botero started his opening comments yesterday. I want to thank again the people that have made this meeting possible. Alejandra Diaz, who is no longer with us, Oscar Vargas, who has been with us during these last weeks, leading the organization of the meeting, Mike Dergo, Anja, and Daniel, that have been extremely helpful to organize the speakers. I also want to thank the speakers themselves. You don't see it, but in that little room back there where speakers get ready, I was very pleased to see and surprised to see how professional and how passionate they were in order to convey their message. I also want to thank the people who answered the surveys that shed some light on which were the topics that we should discuss at this meeting. Thank you very much to all of you. I also want to thank Silvia Parra, our hostess, and I think it is very clear to all of us that we have a big task before us. Innovation, Insurtech in Colombia will be enabled because of you. You have a huge responsibility. And of course, we will be supporting you, but that big task is on your shoulders, in the hands of the insurance companies. So thank you very much for being here. We hope that these conferences, these lectures have energized you, that you are going out with new ideas, that you are now aware of where we are, but also of the huge opportunities that are open to us by technology in insurance. So I forgot to mention one thing. Thank you very much to the communications team led by Ingrid Vergara, with this impeccable infrastructure. So again, thank you very much, and we hope to see you next year. Well, we want to thank all of you for being with us yesterday and tomorrow, and also special gratitude to the team of Banca de Oportunidades, Minigre, and Fasecolda team. It was a pleasure to work with you, and we hope, as Carlos said, that a lot of good lessons were learned in the area of innovation. All the content of this meeting can be found in our webpage in the next few days, as well as the contact information for speakers and for all the participants. Thank you very much.